Real quick introduction, my name's Daniel Johnson. I'm the VP of Sales for iGlobal Stores. What that means is I manage our sales organization. iGlobal Stores has been in business for, September 2009, so it's hard for me to do the math right now, but quite a while. I joined in May 2010, and we're not St. George natives. We are transplants from Salt Lake, and we really love this community, and that's one of the reasons we're here doing this. We're really putting this on for two reasons. First and foremost, our partners, our customers, there's going to be thousands of people watching us online. So when Clint's up here talking, just be aware that there are going to be thousands of people watching, and we don't want people getting up, going out, and these are all our e-commerce retailers, channel partners, etc. And one of them, a big one for us, is UPS, FedEx, shipping carriers, and e-commerce platforms. So we're real excited about that. Second reason we're here is because we do love this community. Even though we're not from St. George, we've grown to love it. We want to see it thrive. That's why we're in this venue, and that's why we have this event together. We're here because we want to play our part and do our part in making this tech community really thrive in this beautiful place. So a couple of items just to take care of real quick. If you haven't already, please silence your cell phone. There are restrooms, kind of kitty corners straight back there if you need to go to the restroom. That's where they are. They're really nice. Beyond that, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what our agenda is. So first off, we're going to have Derek Hadlock, who's the acting president of Dixie Tech College. If you weren't aware, that's the building that we're in right now. He's going to welcome us to the venue, and then he's going to intro Derek Miller, who's the CEO of the World Trade Center, who's going to be talking to us as well. After Derek does his keynote, I'll be back up on stage just to kind of set things up for that live stream we're going to be doing. And then Clint's going to come up here, do his presentation of our new products, new brand, and the live stream for all those viewers that we have. And after that, we're going to have a panel with some of the tech CEOs here in St. George and the mayor that I'm really looking forward to. So that being said, Derek?
Thank you, I appreciate that. I just want to welcome everybody to Dixie Tech, also known as Dixie Technical College. My name is Derek Hadlock, and I'm the current acting president. Just to give you a quick overview, Dixie Tech our mission is to meet the needs of local industry by providing a skilled workforce. Currently, we offer 24 programs and numerous short-term training. We are so excited to be able to host this event here today, and I want to encourage you that after the event, please feel free to wander around, check out our new space. We've got state-of-the-art equipment here, and we are so glad to have it. It's here for the community. As he stated, we love the community, and we are so excited to be part of it. It's now my pleasure to introduce to you our keynote speaker today. Derek Miller is the president and CEO of World Trade Center Utah, an organization with the mission to help Utah companies think, act, and succeed globally. WTC Utah is a member of the World Trade Center Association, headquartered in New York City, a network of more than 300 World Trade Centers in over 100 countries. Previously, Derek served as Chief of Staff to Governor Herbert, overseeing the Governor's Office and state operations. He also served as a Managing Director of Governor's Office of Economic Development for Governor Huntsman. Derek began his career in Washington, D.C. as a management consultant with Arthur Anderson and a counsel for a congressional committee in the House of Representatives. Derek is a graduate of J. Reuben Clark Law School and holds a Master's of Public Administration from Romney Institute of Public Management at BYU. Recognizing his leadership in expanding prosperity across the state, Governor Herbert lauded Derek as an architect of economic opportunity and innovation, and instrumental in transforming Utah into one of the most competitive and fastest growing economies in the country. Please welcome Derek Miller.
Thank you for that introduction. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. It's always nice to be able to come down, especially in February, to sunny St. George. And even though I heard a tremendous rainstorm yesterday morning, thanks for also clearing that up, Mayor, by the time I woke up and saw the sun shining. I know we need all the water we can get, so that's true of all parts of our state. I'm grateful to be with you, and I want to thank the executive team at iGlobal, especially Clint, for inviting me to come and share a few remarks with you. As was mentioned in the introduction, I've had the opportunity over the last decade, move this way, right? So I can't see any of you, just this bright light in my face. Perfect. I have had the opportunity over the past decade to work in economic development in the state of Utah, and when you hear about what has been happening in our state, and I'll get into a few of the details, I have to tell you that it is truly remarkable. So I'm grateful to the iGlobal team for inviting me to provide some remarks today, and I'm grateful for you for showing up. I mentioned when I walked in this morning to a few people at the World Trade Center, Utah, we do a lot of events ourselves, and you always wonder whenever you plan an event, is anybody going to show up? You know, it's like planning your 16th birthday party and wondering if your friends will come, and it's nice, so thank you for coming. And I know we've got people represented from all different industries, from all different areas. I know it's great to be here at the Technical College, and we've got some representatives from Dixie State as well. I have to tell you that educators really hold a special place in my heart. Both my parents are college professors. Both of my grandmothers were school teachers. In fact, my great-grandmother was widowed at the age of 23, and the way that she took care of her two young children throughout their lives was by being a school teacher in a one-room schoolhouse in rural Idaho. And no, that's not a redundancy to say rural Idaho. In fact, I have to tell you, speaking of my parents, so my mom is an English professor, and she taught me a lot. Whenever I dared to give her one of my reports in high school, I would always get it back just covered in red ink. I don't know if any of you ever had this experience. In fact, she used to, when I was even younger than that, and I would write "I love you" notes to my mom, she would even correct those and hand them back to me. But she taught me three great things. I'll share those with you. The first one is, anyways is not a word. That was like the worst word you could say in our home. Anyways. Secondly, she would always say, put the most important thing first. Whatever it is that you're writing or saying, whatever is most important, put that first. I thought that was a great lesson for life. And then often when I would hand her my reports, she would say, Derek, tell me what you were trying to say here. And I would try to take the paper back from her, and she would say, no, just tell me. Just tell me in your words, what were you trying to say? And I would say it, and then she would hand me the paper back and say, why don't you just say that? And so that was another great lesson for my mom. So my mom's an English professor, and my dad is a civil engineering professor. And so I had the whole left brain, right brain thing, and people used to say, which side did you get? And I would say neither. That's why I went to law school. But my dad is a great engineer, the ultimate pragmatist. He is such a hard worker and such a pragmatic person. In fact, when he was doing his PhD dissertation, he was doing it, he went to school at Stanford, and then he would study the water in Yellowstone National Park. He grew up in Rexburg, and they would go home. And in order to earn money during the summer while he was doing his research, he, in West Yellowstone, I just laugh every time I think about this, would dress up in a bear costume in West Yellowstone to sell film. So he would stand on the corner at one of the streets in West Yellowstone. And I was telling this story to my kids the other day because I was trying to impress upon them this idea of hard work and, this heritage of hard work that they had. And I told them this story, and do you know what they said to me in response? What's film? Now, some of you laughed and some of you didn't, and the ones that didn't are sitting there thinking, yeah, what is film? And I know you people who didn't laugh and are sitting there thinking, what is film? In fact, I read about you just a few weeks ago. You're the generation that recently graduated from college, and the first generation to graduate from college that did not know life without the internet. That's an interesting position to be in. I can relate a little bit because I first heard about email when I was just graduating from college. In fact, I remember on the news, I returned home from a Mormon mission, and I was watching the news one night, Tom Brokaw on NBC Nightly News, and he was talking about this new thing called the internet. And he was talking about how it was going to change our lives. And he used this awesome example of how the internet would change our lives. He said that a day would come that when we wanted to check out a book from the library, we would be able to see if that book was actually in stock at the library without leaving our home. That was the best idea that NBC Nightly News could come up with for the internet. And I have to tell you, a lot has changed in that 25 years since I first heard about the internet and first heard about email. And it's because you're in the middle of it, in the middle of this information revolution. And this is what we're celebrating today, how the internet has changed the world over the last 25 years, and how a great company like iGlobal is going to make sure that it continues to change the world and be a driver of that change. But it may be hard for you to get perspective on that because you're in the middle of that change. Again, for those of you who are in that generation who have not known life without the internet, let me try to give you a little bit of perspective. I want to give you a little bit of perspective by taking you back further than 25 years. I want to take you back 100 years to the turn of the 20th century. So we just celebrated a few years ago the turn of the 21st century. I want to take you back 100 years to the turn of the 20th century, where we were in the middle of another revolution in the world. It was not the information revolution. It's what we call now the Industrial Revolution. When you think about 100 years ago, the Industrial Revolution, you think of names like Henry Ford and the automobile. You think about Cornelius Vanderbilt, and you think about Rockefeller and the oil industry. You think about J.P. Morgan in the finance industry, and you think about Thomas Edison, of course, all of the things that he did. This was a remarkable time. Our economy and our world were changing in fundamental ways. And these were titans of industry who were driving that change. This was also a time, because of the new freedom that the Industrial Revolution was giving, that you also saw a rise in a lot of social revolution. This was the time of the 8-hour workday, child labor laws, women's suffrage. Our society was changing in fundamental ways. But I have to tell you, they weren't all positive. Because 100 years ago, because of these societal changes, we were also seeing the rise of totalitarianism, the rise of Nazism. And I have a question for you. When you consider the dichotomy that these great changes were bringing to our society, I have to ask you, do you sense the same thing going on in our society today with the information revolution? These great changes that are causing wonderful, positive things to happen, and at the same time, we see things pulling our society apart. A growing wage and income gap, violence around the world, terrorism, and political polarization, where you have extremes on both ends who are manipulating that societal change for their own gain. Well, as the president of the World Trade Center Utah, I can tell you that I have the very daunting task of trying to keep up with all of those changes. As our mission statement indicates, we exist to help Utah businesses expand their business, expand their customers, grow their profitability, and ultimately create more jobs by helping them to expand into international markets. And so we have to be aware of all of these things that are going on around us. And I have to tell you that although that can sometimes be a daunting task, and frankly, sometimes a depressing task, I nevertheless am optimistic. It's not that I am a Pollyanna, but I am a Utahn. And Utah stands in stark contrast to a lot of the challenges that we see happening around the world. It is not that we are not without our challenges. We do have our own challenges, but we also have a way of approaching them that has accomplished tremendous success. And you may have already heard about this. The very, very low unemployment, the very, very high job growth rate. But think for just a moment, what is the number one state in the nation for increasing economic opportunity and upward mobility? It's Utah. And what is the number one state in the nation for volunteerism and the community building that accompanies? It's Utah. And what is the number one state with the fastest growing economy in the country today? It's Utah. That is remarkable. It's right where all of you here today live. And sometimes we forget about the principles that have been put into place that have allowed Utah to take that position. Now, I want to tell you a story about a company that indicates the kind of great things that are going on right here in Utah. It's a company up north of here, a company located in Box Elder County. And it is a really cool company for two reasons. The first one is it holds the market share in the world for manufacturing bowling balls, right here in Utah. So the next time that you find yourself in Indonesia going bowling, you have a better than 50-50 chance of using a bowling ball that was made in Utah. Now, I told you there were two cool things about this company, and that's the first. The second is they manufacture scented bowling balls. Now, I don't know about you, but when I think of bowling and smells, that's not necessarily a positive correlation. In fact, I remember the first time that I visited Storm Bowling, and they said, "Derek, come over here and smell this bowling ball." Nothing can strike fear into the heart of man than those words. But they said, "We have this bowling ball that smells like a birthday cake," and I kid you not, it smelled just like a birthday cake. So one example of an awesome Utah company and what they're doing all around the world. We are here today celebrating another awesome Utah company and all the great work that they are doing around the world. What iGlobal allows companies in Utah, in the Intermountain West, in the Western U.S., in the United States, and all around the world to do is changing the way the internet allows us to do business. Now, I'm going to not get into details of that because I'll let the experts talk to you about that. But I want to make just this last point by telling you one final story. And before I do, let me just introduce the story by saying, think for just a moment how the work that iGlobal does changes not just the way we do business, but the way that we interact with each other around the world. Think about the kinds of relationships that are created when a family from Santo Domingo, Chile, can do business with a company in Santa Clara, Utah. That has the power to change the world. That power was really impressed to me a few years ago when I had the opportunity to lead a trade mission to the country of Israel. And while we were there, we had the opportunity to visit with the then president of Israel, Shimon Peres. Some of you may recall that President Peres passed away just a short time ago. And when we met with him, he was already 90 years old. As we walked into the meeting, the consul general who had been helping us on our trip, he tugged on my sleeve and he said in a whisper, "Derek, this would be like if you were going to meet with George Washington." I thought that was a pretty impressive statement. And he could see the surprise on my face, so he went on to explain, President Peres is one of our founding fathers. President Peres fought in our war for independence. President Peres has served in every ministerial cabinet position there is, including serving as prime minister twice, and now serves as the president of our country. He is the George Washington of Israel. And so with that introduction, you can bet that I was highly tuned in to what the George Washington of Israel would have to say. And he said a lot of terrific things, but the one that has stuck with me the most is this. President Perez said, "The key to lasting peace is economic prosperity." Now think about that in the context in which this man lived his entire life. The key to lasting peace is economic prosperity. That is the good word that we're celebrating here today. I'm grateful to be part of an organization that advocates free enterprise, that leads to that kind of economic prosperity. And I'm glad to be able to celebrate a company like iGlobal that's creating that kind of economic prosperity that is not just good for business, it is good for the world. Congratulations to iGlobal, and thanks again for having me here today.
Thank you. Good job. Okay. Thank you again, Derek. Great job. Anyone that doesn't know, World Trade Center Utah is a big partner of ours. They attend our events, we attend theirs, and it's turned out really beneficial for us. So we have about 5 minutes until this next event's going to start. And what you can kind of expect is this is going to change from the live event starting soon to a little timer. So there's going to be 60 seconds on it. And once that comes on, we have 1 minute until it starts. So please, between now and then, if you need to use the restroom, now would be the time to go. Because again, we don't want anyone getting up because we have a lot of people watching the live stream. A couple of other things, just so you know, there is no break. So again, if you need to use the restroom, go now. Because after this, after Clint comes up here, then we're going to lead the panel discussion. So this is your last shot. So like fair warning, twice. And another reminder, please turn off your cell phone if you haven't already. So since we have a few minutes before this starts, I just want to give everyone in here, I know a lot of you are familiar with iGlobal and what we do, but a lot of you probably aren't, and the problem that we help retailers solve. So we provide a hosted checkout. Keep going over. Okay, here we go. Wrong light. Okay, there's 2 lights to blind you. I was in the wrong one. We provide a hosted checkout for e-commerce businesses, and we don't replace their current existing e-commerce platform like Shopify or Magento. And we have really a focus on international transactions. Who in here buys online? Yeah, a lot of us. So imagine, put yourself in this position. Amazon, you go online, you buy your new iPhone 10 case, and UPS comes to the door, deliver your package, and they say, hey, we have your iPhone 10 case. Before you can have it, you owe us $20. Why do I owe you $20? Well, the reason why that would happen with an international buyer is because they have duties, taxes, and unknown fees that e-commerce platforms and these sellers can't calculate at checkout. So we help localize that experience by doing translation, currency conversion, providing landed cost, and enable retailers to improve that experience so people aren't going on Facebook and complaining about they have a terrible buying experience. I'm a huge online shopper, and I know if I was surprised with extra fees every time that I had a package delivered, I probably wouldn't be buying as much as I do. So Clint will give us a little bit more insight into that, but just to give you that quick update on, or kind of set the stage for what we do. Additionally, I want to take a real quick minute. There's been a lot of work that this whole team, our team, other people that have put in to make this happen, and great speakers that we have. Derek did an awesome job. So really, everyone that did this, we really appreciate it. Thank you for all that you did. So again, live event starting soon. I'm going to go off stage, so you have about 1 to 2 minutes until we're going to move on to that next slide with the countdown. And once it hits 25 seconds, that's when it starts beeping, and that's when we really need everyone to make sure, stay in your seats, stay quiet. All right? Thank you.
resources so we can have flexibility and take over some of that and get these other guys who are up there on their buildings.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you. My name is Clint Reed. I'm the CEO and founder of iGlobal Stores. And I think today we probably have close to 400 people that are here in St. George attending the event. Thank you for being here and for your support. And last I checked, I think we had about 1,300 people that were registered online to watch this live. So to our channel partners, e-commerce platforms, customers, and different online retailers that are evaluating us today, I believe this 20 minutes will be well worth it. So you just saw in the opening video, a lot of the members of our team, they're good. I mean, we're here today because of them. Our sales team, marketing, business development, finance, our engineering team, and our executive team are great. I think as combined, we have over 100 years of cross-border experience. And we need it. Cross-border is a really difficult thing to tackle. So really quickly, two things I'll be talking about. One is our new name, and then the other is some industry-changing products. So to kind of dive into why is international so difficult for online retailers that are, when they're selling to so many different destinations. One is they have to manage so many different business requirements. And the second is giving a world-class experience to the international shopper. Now, before I founded iGlobal Stores, I worked at DHL and subsequently at UPS. I fell in love with international e-commerce, soon realized how broken it was because e-commerce platforms are just not built for cross-border. So, it kind of became our motto. The problems that are facing cross-border e-commerce are rooted in code. It's a technology problem. It's not a logistics problem. So there's other cross-border technologies that are out there, but they're built by shippers, aggregators, resellers, and what they'll do is they'll couple an all-in-one solution that has the global e-commerce technology component to it, their shipping services, and their payments. It's an all-in-one solution, and though they're in control of all of these choices for you, the most important thing that you lose is the ability for your own control over, let's say you just wanted to add another carrier to your website, your checkout. Or if you want to add something as simple as the post office, a USPS option, you need to either integrate your website with an entirely new Gulp or build something on your own. And both of those choices are expensive, and neither are the answer. So iGlobal Stores is a SaaS solution. We're a technology solution. We're not a shipper. But our name's been a bit of a challenge. Heck, I mean, we threw a spaceship in there to state we don't do shipping. So there's synonyms in there or matching letters with other Gulps like world, border, international, parcel, ship, web, cart, shop, trade, flow, checkout. And if you combine any of those words, you'll probably end up with with a Gulp. And since we don't do that, since we don't do shipping, as you can imagine, this has been a bit confusing. So before I get to some new product announcements, it's time for a new name. All right. Zonos, okay, decoding cross-border. And I am so excited about our new brand and name. It allows us to continue to differentiate ourselves in the marketplace, but now it's a little bit easier. The name and the tagline clearly helps outline our mission to decode cross-border and allows us to stand alone in our category as a true partner to logistics providers, payment providers, e-commerce platforms, and most importantly to online retailers that are looking for flexibility and control over their solution for their online web store. So, to our channel partners in logistics, we are not here to compete with you. We are here to partner with you. We are not going to aggregate your volume and revenue. We're not here to skim off the top of your logistics, and we won't get between you and your customer. We want to work with you and let you keep the valuable relationship that you have built with your customers. We're here to let all online retailers increase their order volume, easily enable and access your services and ship with you. So, Zonos.com will be live later today, and there you'll find over 50 rich pages of documentation for developers, customer service teams, marketing departments. You can learn more about our products that power hundreds of e-commerce websites today, and learn more about the products we're about to announce. But first, let's see a quick review of our international checkout, now known as Zonos Checkout. And Zonos Checkout has become the industry standard for a cross-border international shopper. It helps to keep and convert your international buyers, and here's why. It does just that. So we have some amazing brands and companies that are using the Zonos Checkout, and we have plugins available for Shopify, Magento, BigCommerce, Miva, WooCommerce, Volusion, and more. Pricing for Zonos Checkout is available at Zonos.com, and also for the enterprise and for customers looking to build out their own customer experience in their own checkout, we have RESTful APIs with JSON, and these APIs decouple the services that you see inside of the Zonos checkout, like localization, item restrictions, denied party screening, international shipping calculations, landed cost, and more. Now, when I talked about the business requirements that a business has to deal with, you really do need an HS code to derive the duty rate of an item. And it can vary by country and by product. And HS codes and duty rates are extremely complex for businesses to understand and manage on their own. And it's difficult to get an ROI when you're paying for a classification service. Since e-commerce orders typically comprise of a variety of different line items on international orders, I mean, so it can get really costly to try to classify these items on your own. So let me give you an example. So look at this cart, having here a rucksack, a tent, and a beanie. And as you take a closer look at the rucksack, what we've done in the past and really been building out over the past year is the ability to find the right keywords through natural language processing of what's in the cart. So in this case, you know, well, we can determine possibly from the description sack, keywords like nylon, water bottle, straps. But it's still missing some information, right? But as they say, you know, photos don't lie. So today we are announcing that we are adding product image recognition to determine and classify the item dynamically during the shopping experience. So now let's take a look at this example. It's a rucksack, which is a clever description, like a lot of online goods do have a clever description. For customs, when it's clearing, it's a backpack, and this is a nylon backpack. So this is what we're announcing today will be known as Zonos Classify. It's going to be a classification machine, and Zonos Classify is patent pending. Our beta version for 6-digit classification is available on March 1st for all Zonos checkout customers at no additional cost for their first 10,000 SKUs. And we anticipate classification to the 8th and 10th digit for many of the top export destinations by the fall of this year. So this is amazing. Bet you didn't see that coming. We're only halfway through. Not sure if this is the most exciting thing we're going to announce. But to our current customers, we've been listening to your feedback on our back end, and we've made significant improvements. We invested heavily in product and development, adding cutting-edge technology to deliver the best possible experience to manage your Zonos checkout, your international orders, and your account settings. And so our engineering team has been working tirelessly over the past 9 months, and today, app.zonos.com has been rebuilt with speed increases, dashboards, international label creation, and more. You'll love the new app. Now, as I had mentioned earlier, talking about the APIs and decoupling some components of the checkout, sometimes online retailers are only looking to add that landed cost because of some type of business requirement that might restrict them. But it's really only been available for those online retailers that have the developers and the ability to build this on their own in a custom platform. So for example, a shopper or an online retailer that's on Shopify is unable, or right now the only option that they have is to tie into the Zonos checkout. And today we're announcing landed cost for the Shopify checkout. Now, our landed cost for the Shopify checkout, which works inside of your Shopify checkout, is available inside of the App Store. It's the only public app. It's the only public app on the Shopify App Store that calculates duty and tax for your shipping provider. And now you can surface any shipping carrier with the duty and tax inside of your Shopify checkout. You can go to the Shopify App Store today to download it, and look forward to We've already had some customers baiting it. It's going great. It's unreal how fast cross-border e-commerce is growing, especially when you consider the experience of the international shopper. I mean, picture being in their shoes. They don't live in the US. They probably bought from a US retailer before and had a really terrible experience, but they must want something pretty bad to be on a US website looking at your product. And then as they start to look at the items that they're excited to buy, the apprehension starts to build because they don't know how much the duty and tax is going to be. They don't know what it is in their currency. And they may be unfamiliar with their own import laws. And they might not, and good possibility they don't speak your language. So now imagine it for the online retailer, the US business, right? Now they got to localize their e-commerce platform, and that's super difficult. I mean, we support 220 different countries with different shipping calculations, 175 with local currency, 150 with landed cost, and 18 different languages across 152 different countries. So setting expectations for international customers during the shopping experience is near impossible with e-commerce platforms today, and it's extremely costly to build this on your own. So the question for the online retailer is, how many of these customers do you lose before they even start? So today, we're announcing something new, something for the shopping experience for any e-commerce platform. And this is Zonos Hello. So let me walk you through how Zonos Hello will assist a shopper, an international buyer, during the shopping experience. So it's a GeoIP information chip that's translated to provide information as the person's shopping. As we take a look here, an example in Germany, and it says hello, which is, in German. Now, when the buyer first arrives, Zonos Hello is on the website, and when the buyer first, gets this information on buying into Germany, it'll be translated. It will tell them how much they can spend in euros before they incur any duty. It'll tell them how much they can spend total before they even incur any VAT. Inform them about possible laws and regulations they need to worry about going into their country. So, and it's not just this. It really is the power that comes from Zonos Hello is its ability during the shopping experience to continue to inform the buyer of what's happening. And as I move on here, we go to add an item, a shirt, to the cart. As you look closer, it's telling the buyer you can expect, and we're estimating for them that it's going to be $48.74 in euros in duty and tax. So they know this already by the time they're looking at the item. And if they click on it, they can look more closely and see the detail on how much the VAT's going to be, how much the duty is going to be, and in this case it's 0 because we tell them that this item is actually 148.91 euros for the actual shirt, and that's under the 150 number. So they'll have no duty on it, and they'll know it through Zonos Hello. Now, Zonos Hello is extremely easy to implement. So with one line of JavaScript, you can add this to your e-commerce website. And one other thing about Zonos Hello, the best part, it's free. So Zonos Hello is available in the US for online retailers, and it's soon to be available for online retailers in Canada, Australia, Europe, and Asia Pacific. We're really excited about what the possibilities with Zonos Hello. Now, so it's amazing how far our team has taken us and how far we have to go. It's also amazing to have everybody here that supported us. So thank you very much. And to our channel partners that have trusted us with their customers, specifically a call out to UPS and their amazing sales team. Thank you for seeing the vision. Thank you for the acceptance into the UPS Ready and CTP program. We will continue to offer discounts to any UPS shipper that uses UPS and enrolls through the UPS Ready or CTP program. It's been an amazing partnership. Also, thank you to all of our other partners and friends in logistics, payments, and e-commerce, and especially to the online retailers that are watching and attended. We will continue to help you go global, and I hope this was conveyed, but in case it wasn't, we're a technology company. We are striving to change cross-border, and there is more to come. This isn't it. So it's time to decode cross-border. Welcome to Zonos.
Good job. All right. Exciting, isn't it? Okay, so up next, you guys all get the pleasure of hearing three CEOs of the top tech companies here in the St. George area, as well as the mayor. We're going to learn more about this development up here and the tech community that we have going on in sleepy St. George. Whether you believe it or not, there actually is one, and we're trying to grow it and make it better and create jobs for people to have higher paying jobs, create jobs for our children, etc. So I'm going to be moderating the panel. We have Clint, we're going to get hear from him again. Ryan Weedig, I'm going to introduce them all, I'll give you their titles here in just a minute. So Isaac, Mayor Pike, Ryan, Clint, if you guys can come up here. I think I have to be the one to raise this thing here. Oh. There we go.
Sorry, guys, I know
Turn
that
on the
was
lights.
kind of interesting with me talking to a bunch of people that are watching online, so it's kind of hard to accommodate to both audiences. So seriously, thank you. That was great. I know it's a little weird. Killing two birds with one stone, you know? So
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so I might lose my microphone out the back of this chair. Hopefully not, but that could happen. So we're all in this beautiful building up here on top of Tech Ridge. This is a college for, hopefully that was apparent, but in case you didn't know, this was a college with similar goals that we have to help grow. So if we could, I kind of want to go, everyone on the panel, answer the question, but what is Tech Ridge? What are we, from your perspective, what are we hoping to accomplish up here? Ryan, you want to start?
Sure, yeah. Printer Logic, over the last 5 years, we've gone from 2 guys in an shared office suite to over 160 employees. About 110 of those employees are here in St. George. And as we started that growth process, every time you'd hit a new plateau, you'd think, oh my gosh, we're kind of running out of space, and you'd have to scramble and you'd have to try to find a new building. It was actually a pretty taxing, heavy piece of overhead, because there just wasn't a lot of space in St. George to accommodate the kind of growth that we were experiencing. And as we started approaching kind of that 110 mark, we really, in my mind, we just started to hit a space that the infrastructure, the buildings, like they didn't exist in St. George. So we started vetting the process of saying, well, okay, where do you build this in St. George? How do you make this happen? And thanks to the work with the mayor and Matt Liu has been phenomenal. All of the, Gary Asplin, like all these guys, they understand that we weren't showing up with an ultimatum. We weren't saying, do something for us or else we'll leave. We were just literally saying, it doesn't work. Like it doesn't work anymore. Like help us solve this problem. And so I think we all put our hats together and started, the initial conversation started, 2 years ago, right? Where we first started running out of Building A that we were in, and started the conversation with the city. The city immediately got us with the rest of the tech community that was having similar conversations and thought processes. And so I think number one, Tech Ridge is to address a logistics problem, just how can you fit bodies into a building. But number two, I mean, obviously there are buildings that could accommodate 110 people, or you could build a building somewhere that could accommodate 110 people, and we'll expand to 250. But part B of that problem was, and this is where I got really kind of sticky as I was working with Jarrett, my partner, and saying, what are we doing here, was we can't just shove all of us into a strip mall. We can't just be an isolated technology, because that's not how it works when you're trying to attract talent. You absolutely have to have something that's inspiring. I use this example, and then I'll shut up. You put me on the panel, and everybody, you guys know.
We know you're a talker.
You know what's going to happen here, so I will really try. But a lot of people are asking, like, geez, it seems like it's a building, it's expensive. What are you guys doing? And my analogy is this: if we were in St. George and we said we need to spend a few $1 million on a building, and then we need to put $3 million worth of refrigeration units because we sell cheese. Like, nobody would bat an eye. You sell cheese, you need refrigeration units. Well, of course, that's your business. Go for it, right? But it's funny, I think one of the major shifts that has to happen is as you start to work with technology companies and you see what's going on out there is we don't sell cheese. That's not our product. That's not our inventory. Our inventory is the creativity and capacity of the human beings that we bring into that building, right? So number one, creating space that is inviting and exciting for our current people to unleash that inventory so we can create product and we can sell it to the world and create opportunity for everybody that's involved with that. And number two, and equally as important as we try to grow as a community, a technology community, is being able to attract. Right? It's one thing to say, hey, yeah, we've got a tech scene in St. George. It's another thing to have a physical manifestation of that and to point to it. Dixie ACT, this beautiful building, is a great example of having a vision and creating that physical manifestation. But we, as a private tech community, we feel very strongly this is just as important for us as we want to attract talent from all over the world. And they're coming. They're coming just on the vision of Tech Ridge. We've built an amazing executive team that's now training a lot of the people inside St. George that are gaining experience way beyond their years or capacity that St. George even had to offer them. But we've been able to attract them, not because we were like, hey, come join us in a strip mall. It was because we were saying, this is a project, this is what we're doing, this is our vision, come be a part of it. And it's attracted some amazing people.
Yeah, thank you.
Mic off.
Does anyone, I have another question for you. Does anyone I think Ryan did a great job answering that. Does anyone have anything else they want to add to that?
Yeah, I'll add to that a little bit. And Ryan always does a great job introducing what we're thinking, but I want to draw a comparison to what we saw here today. So, number one, congratulations. I think it's a wonderful brand, Zonos, just an incredible brand. But the presentation you saw here today was iGlobal coming in saying, hey, we're going to take what our customer experience was, and we're going to optimize it. We're going to make it a much greater customer experience, including the brand, how the customer interfaces with our website, everything that we're doing, right? We're basically upping our game on every level. Well, when Tech Ridge was designed, that's the way we took the approach. We took the approach from a technology company, and we said, what's the user experience? That's how we normally think. What's the user experience when you engage our website or when you engage our application? And we said, okay, let's back up and look at what's the user experience of living here and working here and playing here or being here. What is it like to actually be here? And so we took the design of Tech Ridge and said, let's think about, like Ryan said, what's our greatest assets? It's our people. What does it feel like to be here? What does it feel like to walk down the street? What does it feel like to walk out and look at the park and have that creative inspiration? And that's really what the fundamental design behind Tech Ridge was designed around the people.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Isaac. So one thing, I need to take a step back. I forgot a very important thing, and that's introductions. You all probably don't know who all these gentlemen are up here, but this is Ryan Wiedig. He's the CEO of Printer Logic. This is John Pike, Mayor of St. George. Isaac Barlow, CEO of Busy, and Clint Reed, CEO of Zonos. Okay, so Mayor, this one's for you. What were you and our other community leaders hoping for? What was the vision when you bought off on this Tech Ridge and said, you stamp of approval, we're doing it?
Well, thank you, and it ties in very much to what Ryan and Isaac have just said. That is, first, we had 150 acres here, plus the 30 that Dixie Technical College is on. And we said, this is a pretty awesome piece of property. It's not being used, obviously, as an airport anymore. Can't be, never will be. So what could be the highest and best use for this property? And we once actually had it sold to a developer who would have made mostly very nice homes up here. That would be great. But as we looked at that, and frankly, I think it turned out to be a great blessing that with, not that the Great Recession was a blessing, but it was a blessing that that deal fell apart, because it enabled us, the city council and the mayor and city manager, and others, Matt Liu, Mark Mortensen, to really consider what would be the best way to use this space, which, when you get up here and really look around, you say, wow, this is awesome. This is an extension of our downtown, but it's a couple hundred feet and elevated, and you've got these great views in every direction. What could we do with it? And what we believed, after talking with Isaac and Ryan and others, going on a few field trips to see with them, to see what they were trying to explain to us, but to see it in Denver, for example, to see what in action and in reality, what they were trying to explain to us, we started to get it. And we saw that really what we ought to do to really be able to help this economy and the people that live here or want to live here, but maybe can't, because there's just not the opportunity for advancement in the tech world, for example. We thought, let's open this up to someone who really knows what they need, and that can create a vision that matches the city's, a special place, but a place that matches our vision and really enables their vision of creating a critical mass, if you will, and we talk about this all the time, don't we, of tech firms that will just grow and build on itself. First, maybe organically, but over time, as Isaac and Ryan have referred to, there are others that are already interested. And so a live, work, play, where it's designed around those people that will end up being here and want to be here, and around the types of things and services they want, with some significant public spaces that they and the others in the public will be able to use. A trail around the perimeter, restaurants, brew pub, those kinds of things, lodging, high density housing that will be a part of it, so people can live, work, and play up here on Tech Ridge. So really, that was an evolution that we came to by really listening to these men and others who were in the industry, knowing that we are not developers, we are not tech savvy, and so I think that was the best thing we can do, is just listen and learn, and then turn it over to some people who really know what they need and what the economy needs and wants. And in the end, I believe it's going to increase greatly our opportunities for new jobs and higher paying jobs.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, hearing that description, that's definitely a place that I would want to work. And I'm so excited it's happening here, because we just absolutely love it here. So since I have these three CEOs on the hot seat, we're going to start with Clinton this time. Commitment time. Are you and your company coming up to Tech Ridge? And why?
No, we absolutely are. And why? Honestly, because these guys are leading. I mean, seriously, that is, I can't tell how key that is. When I first started hearing about it, I mean, we're still in a spot where, at a growth stage where I can only think so much about, where I'm going to be next, kind of like you were talking about. Well, now that you're bigger, you're setting the stage for companies like us. So we'll absolutely be up here. And, we're really excited about the future, and here in St. George can be great.
We're already carving off space for them.
Yeah.
Isaac?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in my opinion, Tech Ridge is going to be the only place to be for technology companies. And, a lot of it's because of the experience we talked about earlier, but also, like Clint points out, working together, all of us up here, there's going to be a lot of synergy. And there's going to be a lot of benefit that our team members will get from kind of rubbing shoulders with each other. So I think it'll be the only place to be.
So just to kind of bring into perspective where we're at. I mean, Isaac and I just left a planning meeting to come to here. Matt Liu is typically in there giving us insights on how we can make sure that the zoning's proper and we're fitting into the requirements of the city. But we have a weekly meeting, and the results so far is we've actually identified the initial 10-acre parcel that will be carved out for kind of phase A of phase 1, if that makes sense. There's utilities, there's capacity to get sewers and power, everything that we need into that initial phase. And we have a 51,000 square foot building footprint designed. We're into the space planning. We're starting to think about where departments are going. So we're even into the interior design piece of that as well. So we're moving around at a fast clip, and very, very excited to kind of get the ball rolling in a physical building up here. If all goes well, this is construction. So, and to be clear, like, I'm not a developer. I'm not interested in real estate. I know I can make a lot more money for myself and everybody around me if I stick to software. So this is much more a labor of love than it is. It would be great if I could buy the building that I'm describing, right? And just like show up and say, yes, I'll have that. That would be the best way to do it. But we have to work together, and we have to put some sweat equity into creating that vision so that people can say, we get it, and follow. But the April of 2019 is when we hope to be having our folks in a building up here.
All right, you guys heard that.
Awesome. It will happen. My team's heard February. April's the buffer.
Sandbag.
Okay, so some other exciting news that I hope everyone in here has heard, but maybe not, is Dixie Tech is now being rebranded as Silicon Slopes St. George. What is the relevance of that, and why does that matter for the St. George area? Isaac?
I was assuming Ryan would answer, being as on our video.
He'll get his time.
Ryan's the one who basically said we were going to do that on the video. I'm assuming they took cue from him and just did it.
Did I?
On our video.
Okay, well, assume the close. Assume the close, right? Yeah. You want me to take this? Okay,
yeah,
so,
Ryan, go for it.
So for me, I can tell you why it was important to me. Couple of things. Dixie Tech was this awesome, amazing, and I described it in the video, kind of like it was like the representation of this outpost of the hope for technology happening. And you had these incredible pioneers, much like the history of this town itself, that figured out how to like make a cotton mission where it didn't really belong, but they did it. And they were amazing individuals. And when I got here, it was awe-inspiring to go and hang out and be a part of that. I think that for a lot of reasons, it was time for a refresh on what the identity of that thing. And in conjunction with that refresh, I think we also have the opportunity to say, if we obsess and stress out over our identity in St. George as a tech community and continue to try to cultivate that, that's cool, but you also give some things up. Silicon Slopes has a marketing arm that's all they do is write articles and are interested in promoting the companies inside their umbrella, right? And then there's a whole community that's watching and going onto the website of Silicon Slopes. And so we're missing an opportunity to become part of that news feed and that natural motion for the technology community up there. And so I started pushing really hard as I saw that the opportunity was opening up for us to consider that. And I think that we're as a company already starting to see that interconnected nature of communication going both ways. Events that we're doing now has the scope and the eyes of up north saying, I want to come down to that. I want to be part of that thing. And I think that it also gives us an opportunity to kind of reset. I think sometimes as you're just trying to keep the ball moving and create events, over time, some of those were extremely meaningful, but some of them were not so meaningful. And so the community starts to say, well, is this a good event or a bad event? And you start to lose steam a little bit. This is a great reset where we're saying there's money going to be coming in from the corporations to put our money where our mouth is, to help grow that community, to worry about the talent, the technical talent. There's a technical component to it. There's also putting the business of a tech company together is another track. And then there's just generally inspiring people that we should be having come down here. So I think you should be able to know what you're coming to at every event so that you know it's going to be helpful for you. And anyway, I guess the point is, it's a time to reset that and say, we're going to reset expectations so that when somebody comes to a meeting, they know it's going to be targeted to them and it'll be a meaningful event for them. So for all those reasons, I'm really excited about being part of Silicon Slopes St. George chapter.
It seems like it aligns really well with the goals with the development up here.
Yeah.
Any additional comments from anyone on that?
Just in support to what Ryan's saying, I agree that there's a lot of amazing things that are happening in St. George and a lot of amazing things that the different technology companies and other companies are doing in St. George. And it's just great to see that, we'll get some more of that exposure, because I think there's a lot that most people don't have any idea about.
Awesome. Mayor Pike, what's it like having these 3 tech companies, and we have others, TCN, there's big tech companies here in sleepy St. George that's been typically known as a retirement community. Is that how do you feel about that? Is it something you saw coming on? Was it planned or just happenstance?
Well, obviously it was planned by smarter people than me, planned by people like these, and executed by they and their employees. So,
I brought an extra.
okay, here we go.
Yeah, switch with somebody.
Okay, here we go. Anyway, I think it didn't happen by accident, obviously, but I'm not sure that government had a thing to do with it. And that's important for us to remember. And the only thing that we can really help with is, in my opinion, to stay out of the way as much as we can. And I know you hear that, but we need to do that. So that's what our hope is to do with this. And again, where we happen to have an asset that is owned by the community, in terms of this property, why not turn that over to someone who's willing, and some group who's willing to take the financial risk and to benefit every person that now lives or will live in the city of St. George. That's the way I look at it.
Okay, so we're running out of time. So final question, I would like to get some insight from everyone on this. We have Tech Ridge, we have Silicon Slopes St. George. What's next? How do we really bring this to fruition? Where does St. George go from here to really turn into the thriving tech community we're all looking for?
Got to let Clint say something.
Okay, yeah, no, I already said a lot, so I'm like, I'll let them talk as much as they want. So I think what's next is we're going to see more tech companies come down here, and we're going to see more students that are graduating that are staying here. And so I'm excited about the future that's coming, but what's next, you don't know. But embracing change is important. I mean, even with the Silicon Slopes thing, Josh Akins and Rusty and all of them running Dixie Techs for so long, and then when this comes up, no hesitation, right? It's like, yes, let's do it. And so as long as we continue to embrace change, we're going to be going really good places.
Awesome.
I'll add to that and just say, we're all about basically recruiting and retaining, or attracting and retaining top talent, right? So within the state of Utah, there's top talent that wants to live in St. George. There's top talent that doesn't know yet that they want to live in St. George.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, I think it's going to attract and create that synergistic experience. And I really don't think there's anything greater that exists in the state of Utah than the experience we're going to build here.
Anything to add, Mayor?
Well, I think that's a great way to end. And again, if for those that haven't seen the concept that Tech Ridge LLC has put together, they spent considerable time and resource developing these concepts. It's incredible. I mean, it took about 5 minutes for the city council to look at that and say, this is exactly what we want to see. And I think when people see the whole scope of that, and of course it's a plan, it won't be exactly the way it looks in their concepts today, but it's going to be similar, and the concepts will be there. View corridors looking out, as I said earlier, in all these different directions. Trails up up on top, and maybe even steps coming up the hill. And now that's for crazy people like Derek Miller. I mean, he'll when he comes down, he'll run up those steps. I know it. If I did that, I'd be at the hospital real quick. But I'll work on it, Derek. But bike paths. I would hope to see some mountain bike paths going off the edge, in a good way. And also, of course, he's got a plan for 60 acres in parks. That includes the linear parks, if you will, of trails, and also a garden area. I mean, it's a great concept. And I think, as Isaac said, it's hard to it's hard to totally explain it without seeing it. And I hope that's what you will see in the next few months. By June at least, we'll be able to share with the public the master plan, the development agreement between Tech Ridge LLC and the city that will really define what it will be, short term and long term. I think it's going to be fantastic. I believe, again, Isaac is not overstating it. This is going to be the place to be in Utah, at least where you have everything, truly live, work, and play. And so I guess I'd say stay tuned and tell your friends.
Awesome.
So from a what's next perspective, like right now, what we're describing is we're trying to create an environment, and it's not any one person on this panel that's going to do it. It's everybody that's in this room, and it's a lot of people that are in this community, and there are people that are working at PrinterLogic and all these other companies, and a lot of really awesome companies with 10 and 15 people in it and 5 people in it that are amazing. And I have conversations with those CEOs, and I'm awestruck by them, right? So what's next is right now we're creating an environment. We're creating an environment that those folks can stay here and they don't have to move away. What's next, and what gets me excited is as I look at the executive team that I have, when I look at the amazing people that they've been able to recruit and bring into to St. George, the people from St. George that are just blossoming and achieving potential that they didn't really realize was possible to have here in St. George, and their careers expanding. What's next is some version of what we've seen happen in the past in other places, and that is eventually PrinterLogic becomes something else. Maybe it's renamed, maybe it gets acquired, maybe something happens, right? That's what you look at WordPerfect to Novell to what we're seeing up north. You go into Silicon Valley, and what's next is this generation of folks that are experiencing awesome scale within the 3 companies that we're pointing out. Yeah, we're having some cool scale, and so everybody's learning. But I can tell you right now, I look across my executive team, and I can see a bunch of people with much higher IQs than me. So with this experience and believing in the lifestyle that's possible here in St. George, and having folks in the tech community and the public community and the education community all working together to say, let's build the environment. What's next is some version of what's going on up north. Now, when I say that, it's really important. I'm not saying we need to be Silicon Valley. I'm not saying that we need to be Silicon Slopes. I'm saying we need to be the best thing that St. George is supposed to be. This is our garden. We cultivate it. But what's exciting is the idea that we have people working on saying we're going to carve out a piece of technology that will better the economy, allow what was a retirement community to start bringing in their grandkids and their kids so that we can live as families here again. That's exciting. And so what's next is watching all of this talent that we're preparing right now start to springboard from it and do amazing things.
Awesome. Thank you. Clint, Isaac, Ryan, Mayor, thank you for joining us. Very insightful. We're all very excited, and we all have a vested interest. So thank you for all that you do. All right, so after this is basically the end of the show. There's lunch outside, so feel free, mingle, grab some food. And everyone in blue shirts like this is an iGlobal employee, and we're here to help you answer any questions that you have. So feel free to tap us on the shoulder if you need anything.
Yeah, Zonos.
Zonos. Sorry.
Yeah, oh, hey.
Don't fire me.
If I can I real quick okay, I can't help myself. So the symbol, right? You're all like, what is the symbol.
Oh, yes. Yeah, go for it.
And so, my favorite episodes of Ancient Aliens, okay, has these crop circles, right? So here we are trying to design our logo, and I'm like, hey, look, I love this. Like this, there's this crop circle discovered in 2008 in the UK, the Barbary crop circle, okay?
Notice
And-
he waited till all the customers were gone and all
I
the
know.
partners were gone
Yeah.
before he starts describing
It's kinda
that he was an ancient alien
Oh,
fan.
I wanted to, and
I'm a huge
they
fan,
wouldn't
too.
let me. I'm like, okay, when do I get to throw this in? They're like, don't. So, I mean, we have a spaceship in our old logo, right? So an astrophysicist later decodes this crop circle, and behind it, if you put behind it the decoder, it's the number pi, right? So it actually is, it calculates to pi. So we have a 16-year-old intern at the office. I think he's 12 sometimes, but Anthony George, and he's like, hey, Clint, let's just do the alphabet decoder behind it. So actually the symbol, if you put a decoder behind it, spells Zonos. So it's pretty cool, actually. If you have to throw it. So, anyways, there is some. There's some meaning behind it. Yep. All right, that was it. And we have some shirts, right? You said that?
Yeah, Zonos shirts. Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, sci-fi is part of our culture a little bit. We have a lot of fun with it, and yeah. So another thing that is really interesting to point out, which I know Clint already highlighted, but the fact that Anthony George, who's a high school student, is able to come in and play a major part of the technology company. Those are the types of things that these younger kids that are coming out of school and looking for jobs are looking for. They want to make an impact, and we as tech companies need to deliver that along with a beautiful place for them to work. So thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoy the food.
Thank you.